Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. Let's talk about Powerpuff Girls. Yes, we now delve into the world of fan films. We've looked at plenty of original web animations and even YouTube poops that reworked pre-existing footage of popular franchises, but now we're looking at straight-up self-financed fan content. Surprisingly, there are a lot of Powerpuff Girls fan films that have their own IMDb pages and everything. Some are animated, some are live action, but this one in particular I wanted to home in on. Powerpuff Girls The Long Way Back is a 2018 edgy fan film based on the titular Cartoon Network show, directed by Steven Lamorte, the same mind behind the horror movie parody of The Grinch called The Mean One. After watching that movie, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole and found out what the guy had made other than that, and his other endeavor into the Jagged Edge production style childhood horror film Screamboat. From what I was able to find, the guy has made his rounds in TV movies and TV series as a director, and also made a ton of low-budget internet short films, this being one of them, often reusing a lot of the same cast and crew. He seems to be a nice guy, and he seems to enjoy making the stuff that he does, even aware that a lot of it does look very low budget.
We don't just make movies together, we, get together for Thanksgiving, and we go to each other's shows, and comedy shows, and burlesque shows.
Long before doing The Mean One, this was posted to YouTube in 2018. Unfortunately, it's unlisted now, but it is still technically viewable. And going off of its IMDb and the few reviews I could find online, with some scattered negative reviews, along with a few people who seem to give it some props. I guarantee, as flawed as this is going to be, it has to be leagues above that cancelled CW edgy Powerpuff Girls reboot they were talking about doing. Not to hold much onto this, but I was tempted to do a video addressing how awful this was. I remember when it was first being announced, numerous people told me that it could possibly be good because the writers worked on good things before, and then the script leaked, and even those people walked that back, and it seemed the internet universally declared, yeah, this sucks. With people doing videos and live streams going through it, it sucked so bad that they had to inevitably cancel the production, even after going through various cast changes and everything. So as of now, it seems like we'll probably never get to see the CW Powerpuff Girls pilot, but let's see how this edgy Powerpuff Girls short film holds up. This is Powerpuff Girls The Long Way Back.
The city of Townsville. A thriving metropolis under the protection of the Powerpuff Girls. Blossom, Bubbles, Buttercup, and their most awesome superpowers.
Ooh, those are some really cheap looking effects. Yeah, get used to those effects. They're gonna look like that for most of the film. So while everything was once perfect for the Powerpuffs, we then jump forward 10 years later and it seems the professor has died, with the girls believing that their powers were responsible for his demise. I would complain that this is needlessly dark, but just as a heads up, it turns out he's not actually dead. And even if he was, it's still somehow less bad than what they did to the professor in the CW pilot script. You know, having him bank off of his creation like an opportunistic prick who never really cared about the girls when it was never like that in the original show.
Bubbles? Blossom? Oh, Blossom, I have missed you so much.
Have you seen her?
Not since that day. I think she blames
What up, butt cracks?
Buttercup? Oh, Buttercup.
No, we're not there.
As for what the girls have been doing on their own, they all swore to take these Antidote X pills that reduce their powers. I know they still need some of their powers for the sake of the plot, but you think if they were trying to get rid of their powers, they would have just taken that Antidote X thing they had at the end of the Powerpuff movie, or those couple of episodes where they had Antidote X. You think that Antidote X would actually be permanent instead of just being these pills that kinda sorta not really get rid of their powers. Anyway, Blossom grew up to become a librarian, Bubbles became a beauty tips vlogger on YouTube. Hey, as long as she doesn't associate with Jeffree Star, James Charles, or Shane Dawson, I think her career will be fine. And Buttercup, even without the aid of her powers, continues to fight crime at night as a vigilante, as we see a flashback of her beating up the Gangrene Gang. So the girls head back to their childhood home, which looks even faker than a Monty Python model castle here, and they must sign some paperwork to sell the place. But the girls begin to grow sentimental and nostalgic for the good old days as we get another flashback.
Girls, I thought I told you to set the table. Do you know why my life is so sweet? Because I'm surrounded by my honeybees.
Wouldn't it make more sense if they were played by real little girls, since this is supposed to be when they were younger and were, you know, the little Powerpuff Girls in elementary school? Right now, this just looks like a weird wooden rocket porn parody, and I think that's something that none of us want to see. But their flashback is interrupted as a conveniently placed laptop in the corner plays a pre-recorded message by a kidnapped Professor Utonium, revealing that he's still alive.
I need your help. My honey.
The professor? Alive? The girls handled that news well.
I know she's mostly throwing up because of the revelation that the professor is still alive, and also because she was day drinking earlier, but I don't know. Buttercup, one of the Powerpuff Girls, as an alcoholic, that's weird, right? Like, that, I'm not alone on that. I really don't know how to feel about that.
Are you our leader or not?
I don't know. Am I? Then girl up. We're going after him.
And so, our girls are off on another exciting adventure.
I think I'd rather see them driving than see more of the lackluster green screen effects. So they follow the transmission to a loading bay area, and after updating their wardrobes through the power of montage, they head in to see who could possibly be behind all of this.
Hello, evil investors.
Seducer.
Oh, okay, Sedusa. Well, props for an underused villain from the show. And hey, to their credit, the costume looks good, the impression's pretty on point, and even the CG snake hair that they got going on actually looks pretty good.
Professor Utonium refuses to cooperate.
And then you get to the fuzzy lumpkins. Okay, it's not that it's a terrible looking outfit. They got most of the key details right, the nose, the antennae, the overalls, but I don't know, the fur just kind of makes it look like he's a redneck who's trying to stay warm in a hot pink Snuggie. Anyway, Sedusa kidnapped the professor so she could whip up some more Chemical X, but apparently he stayed persistent and not even a beating from fuzzy lumpkins could break him. So they went ahead and made their own formula and tested it on various people and even animals who turn into zombies and hideous, ferocious hybrids. Oh yeah, definitely starting to feel the mean one energy right now. Really starting to feel that twisted childhood IP horror trend that we've been getting as of late. I just can't help but ask, why is this in here? Half human, half animal hybrids that attack people? Look, I know none of us could have ever seen these movies coming, but the fact that something similar to this happens in the Winnie the Pooh horror movies does not help matters. I mean, why is Chemical X so inconsistent? Sometimes it just gives people superpowers, and other times it turns them into hideous monsters. Thank God this isn't just a straightforward Powerpuff Girls horror movie. I could just imagine if that were the case, they'd probably ramp up the gratuitous violence and bloodshed just for the sake of it. Anywho, the girls hear a voice off in the distance, and they head towards it, and lo and behold, it's the professor.
Professor!
Girls! Girls!
But an old familiar voice sends in a group of assassins in hazmat suits, and then a fight scene ensues. It goes on for quite a while, and halfway through they reveal the henchmen are actually henchwomen, as they promptly continue the awkwardly choreographed fighting anyway. Ultimately, the girls beat them all successfully, meaning them and the professor can leave safely. That is until that familiar voice shows up again.
Let us see how you do against Chemical Y.
That can't be good. I hate being right all the time.
You know what? I gotta give these guys some credit. At least they're finding a way to work in most of the key characters from the original show pretty organically. Again, even if the green screen is still pretty shoddy. The professor urges the girls to spring back into action and save the day, but they insist that they don't want to hurt anyone like they thought they did him. And of course, he just happens to have a beaker of Chemical X on hand.
Chemical X just amplifies who you are already. It's what's inside you that made you heroes. Optimism, loyalty, kindness.
Yeah, Professor, I think you forgot to mention honesty, generosity, and magic. Seriously, is this Powerpuffs or My Little Pony all of a sudden? Anyways, the girls agree to take Chemical X and embrace their powers. They fly off into the night, Buttercup tries to take on him all by herself but ends up getting beaten, and obviously the girls have to use teamwork to bring him down, as they all hold hands, spin towards the camera, and then blast a hole right through his midsection. Huh. You think that would have worked if they tried doing it in that Speed Demon episode?
Looks like the word is out around the world. The Powerpuff Girls are back.
But we gotta end with one more cameo, as we see that voice from earlier was obviously Mojo Jojo, who's tiny for some reason. Oh well, at least they remembered that he's a monkey in this version, unlike the CW pilot where they made him a human with a son who was trying to avenge him.
Now, let us see what you can do against Chemical Z.
Come on, Mojo. Chemical Z? Now you're just ripping off Plan Z from the SpongeBob movie.
It's evil. It's diabolical. It's lemon-scented. This Plan Z can't possibly fail. Come on, girls. Show me what you are made of.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice.
So that was Powerpuff Girls The Long Way Back, and overall, I really don't know how to feel about this one. On one hand, they get a lot more right than the CW pilot did. It has a cynical edge to it, to be sure, especially in the beginning. The girls thinking the professor is dead, and Buttercup drinking, and we even get an F-bomb that they end up bleeping out. But in comparison, this at least feels like they had a little bit more fun with it, and isn't a massive dump all over the source material like that could have been. Also, the actors do try, and the ones that do blend well into their characters do a pretty solid job for a fan film. But on the weaker end, the effects range from okay to pretty bad. The extended fight scene goes on just a little too long in my opinion, and some of the costumes are very silly looking. I guess my biggest issue here is it's yet another edgy reimagining of childhood IPs deal. Honestly, I think I'd be more curious to see them take something like Kim Possible or Totally Spies and have them do a gritty, edgy interpretation over Powerpuff Girls. Powerpuff's already had pretty dark and violent moments underneath its cutesy exterior. We don't need edgelord live-action reboots of this stuff. It's more watchable than the mean one. This one was shorter, and it had some genuinely decent moments. And as far as Powerpuff fan content is concerned, I think you could do far worse. Cough, bleed man, cough. Next time, we're going to be looking at a board game based on a popular Disney Channel show from the 2000s that we've talked about quite a lot on Media Wiz. But until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. And hey, actually, come to think of it, why is it called Powerpuff Girls The Long Way Back? Seriously, what is Long Way Back even supposed to mean in that title?